I shower my family with love, affection, and quality attention. I want to spend some quality time with each member of my family every single day.
Welcome to Fatherhood Voices, breaking the toxic cycle. Dive in as real dads bear all, the mess-ups, make-ups, and every heartfelt moment in between. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change the way you see family.
Welcome to another edition of Fatherhood Voices, episode 61, season 2. And I'm excited today to have not only one of my coaches, my broker, a friend, someone that's watched my transition. And we might even talk a little bit about that. But I'm excited to welcome Anthony Morrell. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to be here. And I've been watching the show from afar, as well as you gifted me the book. And I've been in it and I've been out of it and I've also been back in it, and it's kind of one of the things that I do because I just feel like the right words kind of come to me. And you know, from what I've read so far, and for just even hearing your guys' story right now, as well as when we first met, it's really cool to be here. It's kind of a surreal thing, honestly. It's a full circle moment for myself. It's a the world is in perfect order moment. I remember going to Cabo. Do you remember that, Arlene? And just having some great time there, and you know, with some of the others that were on that trip, just having a blast. You know, so playing golf. So
That's right.
You know, it's just really cool. Yeah. So I have a lot of great memory about you, and just, you know, you've always been a straight shooter. And you've always just kind of been all in. So, you know, you're all in. You're an all in type of, when you're all in your business, you're all in. When you're all in your healing, you're all in. And I know that when you're all in here, as I've been watching, you're all in. So it's just cool for me to be considered to be here, and it's an honor.
No, I'm excited because you know, when we met, you know, I was in a very different place psychologically, and it's just a very different, you know, toxicity, you know, and then just going on this journey of healing and so forth. So
Same.
this is this journey we're on, and this is where Fatherhood Voices evolved. It evolved from just wanting to, my way of tithing back is to be able to help fathers heal the relationship with their children.
I love that.
And you know, we were talking kind of off camera, but with my oldest, we didn't talk for 6 years. She was dead to me and I was dead to her.
Yeah.
And it was like to that extreme.
Yeah.
So now being able to give back and bring people on to share the stories, not only the negative, but also the positive, what's working, what's not working. And that's the beautiful thing is the DMs that we get and the messages. And a lot of our content comes from just people sharing, you know, struggles they're going through, that they don't feel like they have a safe space, because it's sad that men don't have a safe space, or feel they have a safe space where they can talk about their vulnerability. You know, you go to family gatherings, you go to, you know, you go watch a football game, or you go to someone's house or a barbecue. Men don't talk about, you know, like what are the struggles going on with, you know, me as a father or a relationship. You know, they talk about the stuff that's just very surface level. And I honestly feel that we need a space where we can have that opportunity to be able to say, like, hey, I'm struggling financially, I'm struggling psychologically, because I don't know about you, but I've had friends that have killed themselves, you know, and you look back and go like, fuck, why didn't you just say something? So it's Fatherhood Voices is just an interpretation of just having a voice so that people may resonate. And what I want to do is just kind of start with, you know, what did childhood look like for Anthony? You know, I know you, well, I'll let you share your story. So what did childhood look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, childhood for me was amazing. Honestly, it was great. So we moved here from New York, my mom, single mom, with my two older brothers, and just kind of going back, we lived in Rialto, California, in an apartment complex. I mean, that was our life, you know. And so you know, it's interesting, right? Because on the way over here, I'm like, oh, we're gonna be talking about fathers, and it's gonna bring up naturally like my relationship with my father, you know. And I don't know if this is just the way that I think, you know. Yeah, I did was not like, my father wasn't around all the time type of a thing, right? Really very minimal communication, honestly. And I was the youngest of the family. So for me, I was just going with the flow, you know, it's all good. However, I will say that, like, I just feel that I'm just one of the most blessed human beings ever, because I had two older brothers that were like they're just the most amazing people in the world. They really are, both of them. So
And
for me, man, I'm just blessed because I got to watch both of them, and I get to see both of their journeys, and they've always treated me like they treat me like a brother, but also they really they look out for me. You know what I mean? They look out for me. That, you know, whether it was sports, they were my coaches. They were driving me places. You know, parent-child meetings. You know, my mom didn't speak English. You know, they were showing up. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do we got to talk about? You know, and it's just beautiful. You know, it was so cool because, but then also like they would go to parties and stuff like that, and I would be there. You know, like it was 7-year-old, 8-year-old, like, oh, I guess we're all senior ditch day. I always tell people like I participated in senior ditch day. You know, it's like just because my mom was working 2 jobs, and that's just the way that it was, and you know, so it was a beautiful upbringing. It really was.
You know, and it's
I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I really like
wow.
genuinely did. Like I know people, and you know, with a lot of empathy and a lot of heart and you know, I know that it's a thing, you know. However, for myself, I was just like, I just wanted to be like my brothers. For me, they were just like the coolest dudes in like both of their realms, you know. So it's just so super cool.
You know, and you know, now bringing that up because you know, you had brothers that stepped in and were a brother, they were father, they stepped in all those roles. What would you say to, let's say, an older brother or even an uncle, someone that the father's not present in, let's just say, let's go and say, you're an older brother and dad's not around and you have younger siblings. So what would be your message on how that crafted your childhood? Because we can't even really talk about how your father impacted your childhood because he wasn't there. And I get that because I went through a lot of the same experiences. So what is your message to those older brothers that are maybe dealing with girls and school and jobs, and how do you get them? How did that impact you?
Oh man, yeah. Like I watched both my brothers go through life, you know, and as I mentioned, and like I would just tell people that, or I would just tell older siblings, just, you know, you don't know how much your younger siblings are watching you, and not only that, but it's the littlest things that I just appreciate so much from my brothers. Like I remember so many different stories, honestly. I remember like 2 stories that stick out. Like one story is we were at A.B. Miller High School, and it's like a really granular one. A.B. Miller High School, my brother Omar, he's wrestling, and he as he's wrestling, after practice, we basically found out that like the phone was dead. For some reason, my mom wasn't picking us up. My other brother had transferred him to be a wrestler at the other school. So it's like, so now we're in Fontana and we got to get to Rialto. It's like, how is this even going to happen? But I'll never forget, like, it was cold that night, and it was always when it was cold. Like, I remember those moments. It was cold that night, and I remember my brother Omar taking the jacket off of his back.
Wow. So something just that simple, which to him it would have just been like, but it made a powerful impact. Wow.
You know, I know he was cold. I remember him telling me, "Man, it's cold. It's cold." And I was like, you know, I was younger, you know, so I'm cold. You know, I don't know how to deal with freaking cold at that point. Now I'm like, whatever, you know. So, but like back then, it's like, man, I'm genuinely cold, like, you know. And no, boom. He makes sure that I'm comfortable. I saw it in his face how much he was concerned. I don't think he was concerned for himself. I think he was more concerned because I was there, like, and it was uncomfortable for me. So that was you know, a really cool experience, you know. And then with my brother Danny, I mean, for baseball, for myself, you know, I saw him take time and take resources, finances, that he was working at a leather jacket store, you know. Then he became a tortilla truck driver. Then he becomes, you know, this and this and this, you know. And back then it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like there was not a lot, you know. So I remember I was like, I needed a baseball coach, and he was like, you need to play on this program. And Mike Spears, who, you know, it's interesting, right? When you reach out for help, it's interesting. I don't remember exactly what the agreement was. However, I do remember that like he worked with my brother worked with him. It was important, not just from a financial perspective, but also from a time perspective. Because, you know, when you play junior sports, and I'm sure many of the parents are, you know, they understand this. It's not just there is a financial perspective and there's memes and stuff like that out about all that. But there's also memes about the time perspective of how much time it takes away from that adult, you know, and you got a 20-year-old, you know, 18-year-old, 22, 20-year-old, you know, they're 2 years apart. I'm 10 years behind my oldest brother and 8 years behind. What 22-year-old and 20-year-olds are spending the weekend traveling for a travel ball game? Like, you know, you don't, with no other parents around, like you don't see that stuff, you know, you really don't see that stuff. So, you know, heck, my brother moved me into an area so I could go to a different high school, you know, put a batting cage in the backyard. That was all. That was what it was. It was house, the backyard. Like if I was like, I always think about it like this. If I was him and I was like a bachelor at that time and I had a backyard, like you look at now what people do, they're partying, they're clubbing, they're building their backyards out probably more for like other things. He wasn't doing that. He was more like invested in with what we were doing, you know, and my brother Omar and like so it was just we just always this I'm just blessed, man. I'm blessed. Wow. I'm very blessed.
You know, and all them by stepping in and supporting you and giving you the resources with baseball coaches, you went on to have a pretty incredible career with baseball.
Yeah.
Can you share that a little bit with us?
Yeah. So I got, you know, I was a little bit of a late bloomer out of high school, and I ended up going to Riverside Community College. Andy Rojo blessed me after like an all-star game and said, "Hey, we got a spot," and I wasn't going anywhere, you know. And then from there, I ended up having a good, like I developed a little bit more. I had a really good freshman year. I ended up getting drafted as a draft and follow. So I didn't sign or anything like that, but I was able to get a scholarship to go to UNLV. You know, the world is in perfect order, man. I go to UNLV. I make lifelong friends, relationships there. I end up, you know, getting into like a multi-level marketing company with my brothers, right? So I'm doing this multi-level marketing company. And interestingly enough, as I'm doing that, I'm living out in Vegas. The money that I'm making from that, I'm literally like making pretty decent money. I'm taking that money and I'm going to the clubs. So I'm like, we're doing this the right way. We're getting bottles, you know, we're doing this. So, however, trip out on this. The day that I was like, baseball was done. Like I did senior year, like you're not getting drafted, whatever, you know, okay, cool. I'm like, I need to get a job, you know, cause I got like this like apartment, you know, like my school stipend's running out. So I gotta get to work here, you know? Ended up hitting up one of the VIP hosts and I'm like, dude, can I work? And he's like, absolutely. He come be a promoter. So then I started promoting. I'm walking the strip, basically bringing groups of girls and people into the clubs, and I go on to be a busser. Anyways, I don't know what else you want to know.
No, this is awesome.
Like, yeah.
Hey, here's a cool cat right here. Okay, so he lived the Vegas life.
I did a little bit. I will say I did a little bit.
Yeah, nightlife, and you were part of that.
Oh, I you know. Can I share something with you?
Absolutely.
Full circle moment, right? Last week I was in Vegas and a buddy of mine, his name's Matt, he was a busser with me in the nightclub. And like, we were just having like, it's like crazy flashbacks of like, I'm sure other people have experienced in their life, but it's kind of cool when like we were both bussers. He's a rock star leader agent in Vegas, like just total gangster out there, you know? And then like, I'm doing my thing in real estate too, and like now he's with PAC, so it's like
wow.
It's just really cool, man. And like I was just gonna say, so I was a busser. That's where I ended up meeting my wife. You know, we ended up having Taylin. That's where Taylin, my daughter, my firstborn, she was born in Las Vegas. So
wow,
yeah, Centennial Hospital.
Wow. And let me now pull a memory from the past and say, you know, I think you're an amazing father because you've done some things that you've really stepped up and going all in. And I'm just going to cite two examples. One is, you know, your daughter is just, Taylor, she's just an amazing golf player, and
Yeah.
followed her from the get go when it
Oh yeah,
started.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember during COVID, well, even before that,
Huh?
a house came up on the market
Mhm.
on the country club,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
golf course.
Yeah.
And you were like, I remember us having a conversation. She said, I'm going to get that house. I
Yeah.
don't care. Whatever it takes. It was a fixer upper.
You remember that house?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
And you were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
trying to, hey, do you know this person?
Yeah.
You were pulling every
I was
string.
motivated.
Because you wanted to be on the golf course. I mean,
Yeah.
one that was, one of your dreams, but then also because Taylor was starting to get into golf at that time, or was
Yeah.
that after the fact?
Yeah, so she was already kind of playing, and
Okay.
what that market was, right? And we kind of talked about this a little bit when we met. Like the energy was just completely different. We were like it was competition, it was production, it was like just a different energy. You know what I mean? That's I think was kind of like the culture, in a sense. And with that meant me being at the office, getting to the office at well, you remember 4:30 crew, right?
Yeah.
So obviously I'm trying to kind of create my identity, and I'm trying to, I'm forging in fire coming off of baseball, and now I got kids, I gotta grow up now, type of a deal. So with that, like all that to say, my life at that time was I'm a manager. I am coming in to really kind of rally the troops and make sure that we're executing, and which was beautiful because I got to formulate a lot of really good systems that like just were awesome, So all of that to share though, house comes up on the market, and I had set up, so we had went to a Tony Robbins event. And when we was at the Tony Robbins event, I was like, Tony he's just got an amazing way of just like moving your life forward. Let's just put it that way. And I remember I was like, I had set the search up. I want to be on Red Hill because my mindset at the time was like, I don't get a lot of time to spend with my kids, and it's a value to me. Like it's really high priority. I love my kids. So I'm like, now when I get off work at 5, if there's some sunlight or on the weekends, now I don't have to, my thought process, like I'm part of a private club, so I can save a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Also, not only can I save a lot of time, but also if I get there now when she's older, so I'm always looking like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the future when she's right now. So I was kind of playing it then, is like now it's kind of cool, man. Like she gets home, she's a big girl, she's out there and she's dialed, she's 13, but she's like, I mean, she could go low in a round of golf. So she got to be really like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? You got to be on it. So, but now, I mean, she could go out on her own and just, and play and do her thing. And I like it for her because I'm a big believer in sports, and just because of a lot of things that I was able to translate and learn from a lot of my mentors. That's the other thing about fathers, man, is like, I've also been blessed with just some great mentors. I mean, great mentors just in my life that through baseball, all of them, all my coaches showing me so much, since I was little. Mike Spears, Bobby Sheridan, teach me that it's okay to be aggressive and just go, like it's okay to get after it. Dennis Rogers, Rudy Arguelles, Andy Rojo, Buddy Goldsmith, Coach Kirby, Dave Martinez, like a lot of these individuals, man, they left such a big impression with me. And then even get into the business world, like you go listen to Mike Ferry, you listen to my brother, you know what I mean? You go to listen to my brother. I mean, you're getting moved, go to listen to Mike. It's like, and then you meet people too, right? So then I got like Joe D, who I met too as well, right? I meet Ty, I meet Alex Lair. It's like all these different, just like, and I think that you can kind of sit in, I don't like, there's no way, or you can really sit in, and again, this goes back to something, that Tony says, it's like, the life is happening for you, not to you. It's like I could look at all these great individuals that are teaching me just like, and each one of them, just the littlest nuances. You know what I mean? Like Alex Lair, I go up to his ranch, take my kids, man. He'll tell me one thing. I'll tell you, it'll take me like 3 years to work on it. I'll be like, I'll be back in 3 years. It's like, but I just always had that mindset and just that belief that, like, it's really for me is God.
So the ones that have shaped you, even as you're growing up, have you ever pulled them aside and had like a honest, just heartfelt conversation. Like, let's scrape away the business, let's scrape away all the systems, and just
Yeah.
like, hey, thank you for the impact you made on my life. Have you had those real conversations with the people that helped you shape your journey to get to where you're at today?
I will say, Edward, that I have done my absolute best to reach out to people and let them know how important they are in my life, specifically how they help me. I have a pretty good memory, specifically, where I was at. I've never had a problem with sharing, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Man, I remember conversations in junior college with Dennis Rogers and just, just pouring my heart out to him about, just life at the time, right? Money and girls and what school to go to and family and you know what I mean? And him just sitting there and just whatever it was that he said, I don't know exactly what it was. I remember more of some of the little things some of the little like grinded out, some of the little stuff that he would share with me. But I've worked to definitely let people know that they've made such an impact on my life. I feel like I'm just God has just worked so many wonders for me that it's just been a blessing. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how else to say it.
No, that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
definitely we are going to dial into your faith and so forth. But, you know, I didn't, sports weren't important in my life because of my childhood. I didn't participate. So I know for me, my kids missed out on that opportunity, a camaraderie. I didn't realize the importance till later in life of how important it was. And I thought I was doing them a service of not having to get up and travel ball. And no, and later on, there were conversations about you robbed us of that experience and not realizing how that really set the tone for what the relationships were going to look like, but another experience that I can think of is during COVID. You're living in Red Hill. I remember you called a couple of us, hey, come over. I got this awesome simulator and golf. And you had gone all in with this golf simulator, like thousands of dollars. And it was this freaking state of the art for Taylor to be able to practice and so forth.
Yeah.
And I remember in my mind thinking, because, I was coming from a different place, like, what the hell? Spend all that money and they're just going to outgrow it. And so your commitment to going all in, like, what the hell?
Yeah, man. I mean, I put a big, to build the house. I mean, I tore the house down and rebuilt it. And, I say this today, like I had like $1,000 in my pocket. So how I ended up pulling that thing off, don't even ask me how. That was by the grace of God. Honestly, like this sale comes up, a lot of help. Eddie Salinas, a lot of help. Just met my brother, Gino Blafari, just a lot of dudes coming around me saying, hey, I think that when you, so just talk about it like this, when you make commitments, people will come around you and they'll support you. They really will. And with that, my whole mindset was like, okay, 10,000 hours, right? Like if this is something she wants. Now I will say this though. I'll come back to it, but there's another side of that too, where I was living at that time a lot in like a survivor mentality, right? Where I'm not going to say that it was the healthiest relationship with a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old daughter, right? Because, and this is real heavy in life, like in, especially in the golf communities, man. I mean, it's like, or like sports, it's like, it's, so I've done a lot of work there as well, thanks to coaching that I've gotten, in regards to it all around, like, man, maybe this isn't what they want to do, And so that's why I've changed my approach with my daughter a lot in golf, with my son in football and baseball. Football, basketball, whatever he decides to do, it's all good. Let him try it all and all that good stuff. I used to think people that said, let him try it all, I just think they were crazy.
Really?
Because I'm like, no, you got to pick and go, right? Like we pick baseball, we go base, right? No, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Especially with, and then with my youngest one, it's like soccer, gymnastics, like that fun, We literally work to like live through them. And there's a lot of anger that comes out because we're living in the survivor mode and we think we're doing the best we can for them because we're setting them up for their future. Like, how do you know what that, so now I talk to my daughter and I share with her, because she's through it, she's become competitive. Let's just say that. She knows how to win. She does. However, she works on herself a lot. Now I'm like, baby, number one, I love you. Like, I don't really care what you shoot. I think this is a great opportunity for you to learn. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to grow.
Really?
Absolutely. And
So
that's my
where did that,
conversation with
if
her.
you came from a very competitive nature, and
Yeah.
then not only in your sports, but then just as you stepped into MLM and then this real estate and so forth, so you're driving a different frequency.
Yeah.
Now you're coming back now,
Well,
and this is growth, right? This is
yeah,
growth. This
yeah.
is
I mean, I took a class. It was called the Powerful Man Group. Powerful Man Group. It's some gentlemen that are in the UK, I think, like over on that side, you know. It was so powerful, and it really started more so with me wanting to be a better husband, right? That's where it really started. The whole thing, it started there with me wanting to be a better husband, and I'll say, because I wanted to get better in that area, everything changed, because now all of a sudden I'm seeing where all the survivor mindset is coming up for me. You gotta go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. You gotta wear a suit and tie to work. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. So all that structure, which I can get structured with I can put systems in play with the best of them. I will make it frequent, efficient, effective. It will work. I can do that. However, you know, learning that other side of it, right? Learning that other side of it was super vital, because one thing they taught me, for example, was like, why do you have to go? Why do you have to be at the office at 7:38? You know, it's like, well, I don't know. That's what I got to do. You know, that's what we do. We work, right? We provide and we protect. Like, well, I didn't even know the protect part until later, but provide. I need to provide for my family. And that's when I started getting they shared with me the concept of rise, right? Take care of you first. Drink some water, meditate, go for a walk, go outside, get fresh air. Don't get into your phone right away. You know what I mean? Just really, you know, work on you. Not only that, consider your wife. You know, we just don't consider our wives. Like, she doesn't, like, she'll tell me this. I don't want to get ready in the morning. Right? And I used to be like, well, I gotta go to work. Like, you know. But then I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna listen generously. You're genuinely saying, like, this is something that you just don't. It's like you don't like doing it. Like, there's things that I just don't like doing. And I would hate for somebody to be like, yeah, but you got to do it anyway. It's like, what the hell is that? You know, like for me in my life, when I look at me, I'm like, no, ain't nobody going to do that to me. You know what I mean? So then I start thinking, okay. And then this is all the time I'm going through the Powerful Man Group. They're like, well, identify that. What if you were to take the kids to school? And I'm like, what if I was to? What if I was to? And what ends up happening is it started to put a lot of pressure on me to really change some things up, you know? And then, so that's, I don't know if that answered your question.
no, it's beautiful, because I went through a whole revelation over the last year where I would get upset if I wasn't at the gym by 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
it
The whole thing.
fucked up my whole day.
The whole
like,
thing's over.
It's just like,
Yeah.
and I was just, and then one day I just woke up and said, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. If I do this for freedom, be able to control my time, why do I have
More
to
in
get
jail than
life?
anybody else.
Absolutely. So now
It's not it.
I don't look at the time anymore. It's like, yeah, I want to get there as early as possible, but I'm not going to get upset, or it's not going to unravel me
Yeah.
if I get there and I'm working out at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it's like, I should be on the phones. I should make. You know what? There's a whole day to do it, and so that's been growth for me just
I
in the
love
last
that.
years, is disconnecting from the clock and just, these are the things I need to do, and time doesn't matter.
Man, there's that artist. I got a whole lot of love and time to waste, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, why can't we just live daily like that? No, I got commitments too, and there's times where, you know, and so all of that to share, like, that's really where I started to begin that journey of, like, you know what? Because, like, when we just live in survivor mindset with a lot of different things, you know, and So I feel like when we can start to kind of really just work on that and say, okay, and it's just tough decisions. Do I want to live there or do I want to live here, mentally? And that's just kind of, and for me, I've, through exercise has been really big for me lately. And I've just really gone on a journey there, as well as now with JKD, Jeet Kune Do, Kali, all those, just learning the different systems, and also training at the temple. I'm just so blessed, man. I get to train at a Buddhist temple with Don Vien and like the monks, and it's just like I'm just I'm very, very blessed, and it all kind of is like all in frequency. And I pray, I ask God for that too, because I had dealt with some things. It's like as men, we're always taught like we got to provide, and then I remember Alex Slayer telling me like he was the first one that was like, you got to protect as well. Providing is one thing, but you got to protect as well. And I remember like it didn't really resonate with me, right? Because it's like now my seafood Chris tells me, oh, the average man walks around, they think they're 300% more qualified than they are. I'm like, dude, that's me. That is me 100%. I think I'm 300% more qualified than I really am, right? And then it's like, okay, now I want to work on that. So,
it's beautiful they transition into that because, when I met you, you were the peacemaker. You were always the one like, hey, keep the peace and so forth. And then, it's in the last year, and it could have been longer, but just in the last year, I've seen this, evolution of now, you're going to the monastery, you're starting to take self-defense lessons. And when we were at a pack meetup just in the last couple of months, you shared a story. And it's like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And I want you to share the story because it really had an impact on me because it's something I talk about, but about how you talked about someone breaking your house and before what it would have looked like and now. And I want to really transition to that story because that right there was like powerful.
Yeah, well,
because not only for the family,
yeah,
but also to step up, because a lot of fathers do not step up for their kids when they're being bullied, when the schools make improper decisions and they just allow things to like, oh, the school knows best, and they don't step into their power to defend not only their kids physically or the family physically, but also psychologically and emotionally. Mm-hmm. So that story really was powerful.
Everybody feels it, man. Everybody feels it. You can wear, you can, and I think most of the world kind of walks around with this mask on, and I know I did of I'm this tough guy and I'm got it all together because of my suit and, the way that I, what I do and how I do it and whatever, the reality is, soft, it's just, and so for me, it was coming to, and I got this from, it's a mindset. It's all it is a mindset. That's it. It's a mindset. Chris, my seafood, will tell me, and he's told me like from one of the first classes, and now it's my mindset. It's like, you know what? Somebody breaks in the house before, Freddie Fear would kick. I'd be scared. Oh my God, and now the mindset is, thank you. Lock the door. Thank you. Because you brought somebody in and that wants to try.
Wow.
I think that has a lot to do with becoming comfortable with mortality as well. And that's something that right now in my life that I'm getting very comfortable with and getting more comfortable with and facing it a lot more. And so, yeah, it's just, and it's all good,
Wow. No, that's powerful because you're preparing yourself. You're
okay. I mean, let me share because I want people to understand where I'm coming from here. You're talking about somebody that, so I have very vivid memories where I wanted to do something to protect or to help. Very vivid memories, but my body would just stop. Okay. Either that or I would just cry. So, one time that I just bought a new puppy, and I wanted to take the puppy to, we were taking the dog that day to go meet up with some other like pit bull family owners, whatever. Well, long story short, these two, the puppies start fighting, I'm a little boy, I went, oh, all I wanted to do is just get my dog and get out of there. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to play with him, pet him. I didn't need to see any fighting. I didn't care if he was a pit bull. To me, he was Bruno. That's who he was to me, you know? And I remember thinking to myself, just go in and grab him. Go get him. I don't know if I did. I think maybe I did actually. And that's really where the deepness of it was I did. And somebody went like that to me. And I went, okay. And now I would have, I would have enjoyed the day. I would have enjoyed that moment, honestly, because I would have been able to get my dog out.
Yeah.
So, other situations where, and the dog was okay, by the way. It was that's the thing, right? I took it personal. You know, I took it personal, and there's things that we take personal because of who we are, and we're not okay with it. We're like, oh, okay, well then I guess it's what pit bulls do. Then they fight. No, bullshit. You know. So I took it personal.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that before you got to the next story. It's that inner child. It's trauma points.
Yeah.
It's one memory. You know,
Yeah.
just like the memory of your brother Omar giving you the jacket.
Yeah.
That was a positive
Yeah.
point, but it's these trauma points where the dog was in need. You could have done something, but then at first you were kind of held off.
Yeah.
And then that stayed with you because for that story to show up.
Then I just turned around and cried.
Yeah.
Because there was adults around. I just turned around and cried. You know, and then everybody laughs at me and goes, "Oh yeah, you don't like it." It's like,
But that right there could have been the story, that moment that made you finally take your power back and say like, this, not only because of the family, but I remember the little boy that turned around and cried when his dog was in the fight.
oh yeah, yeah.
It shapes you.
It shapes me. No, the world. That's what I'm saying. The world is in perfect order. Yeah. The world is in perfect order. There's other, you know, I would just say there was been other moments where, and the thing is it kept coming up. It kept happening. It kept happening. You know, you want to defend somebody. You want to protect somebody. You want to speak up for yourself. You want to defend yourself. You want to just, you know, it just can't. It is like, when's that gonna stop?
Yeah.
You know, for me at least, for me, you know, and so that's So therein lies like where the training has come from and where the mindset is coming from. And I'm, you know, I love it. I'm newer. I will say that I've just like, I really, really enjoy it because it's like, it's just really cool. It's a really cool experience, man. Like it's, you know, the other day I was in there and you got to get hit. Well, you got to get hit. You get hit, you know, I was showing you the bruises and all that stuff. Sitting there, he's like my Sifu is like sitting there, he's hitting me and stuff like that. And at first it was cool because like at first in the video, he's doing it and I'm just like, you know, like backing off. And then he starts to teach me like, no, boom, you know, like pensador and I'm like, oh yeah, alas, okay, boom. So I start to learn. And he goes, hey, I'm just hitting you. Just breathe. Just breathe. And I'm like, okay. And I kid you not, whacking me. Just whacking me and just standing still. Just breathe. It was just like, dude, it was a big one. It was huge because it's like automatically, instantaneously now, it just shows you that like 80% of the stuff that it's all right here. And it's just, you just need to breathe.
So how can you now take that and restructure it and put that into your business mindset when you're struggling, when a deal's falling apart and everything?
Well, I mean, that's the life-changing part of it, right? Is because it's instantaneous because how often do we feel like we're being enveloped in life? How often do we feel like we're just being attacked and, you know what I mean? And what do? We, you know, Freddy Fear, and we, you know, and we think it's worse than it is almost, you know, it's just, hey, you know, just breathe and work through. So it was just a big aha for myself, you know, on it was like a really big growth point like that. And that was just one lesson, man. Every lesson I go in there, it's like, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
You know, I've
provide and protect is where it comes from though. As a, you know, that's my world right now, right? Is I want to provide. And I think I do a pretty good job of that. Like, I think that, I mean, we could always do, you know, could always do better and all that good stuff. And, you know, sure. However, I think that side of things, like, if I want to do business, I know what to do business, right? If that makes sense. The other side, the protect side, is if I want to protect, I don't know what to do to protect. So that's where I want to get more aware and more conscious for myself. Yeah.
You know, I posted something a while back and got a lot of backlash on something that I said, and I just want to get your perspective if you want to share. But I said that if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't keep yourself fit, then you don't love your family. And I just, you know, because to be able to protect them, you know, not only physically, but also to be there to enjoy their lifetime, their children. And I got a lot of backlash on it, you know, because I said, if you don't work out, if you're not, then you don't love your family. And what are your thoughts on that? It's, you know,
I don't think you love yourself. I don't think it has anything to do with your family. I just don't think you love yourself.
wow.
So, you know, and I understand that probably like a lot of the world doesn't operate the way that I'm operating right now. I'm becoming more and more clear of that. But I would just say, like, when are you going to take pride in you? You know, and there's a lot of excuses and there's a lot of different like hallucinations I think that we get to defend ourselves. And that's cool. I mean, it's all good. I don't have any job. I mean, that's fine. If you don't want to take care of yourself, you don't have to take care of yourself. But, you know, just, it's all good. It's like, I don't know. It's just, that's on you. I mean, I got so many quotes that will come to my mind that is like the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. You know, just like little stuff like that. You know, it's like, that just come to my mind, like, tick, 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 that, you know, I for me, it's been a journey, by the way. It's been a journey, you know, and now for me, I will say that my body is no longer, I think when I first started, intentionally, I wanted to get to a place where I had some insecurities in my vanity, in the way that I looked, specifically with my, you know, here, just like testosterone wise and stuff like that. Just not, you know, I just didn't feel like a dude, you know what I mean? Like the way that I didn't feel the way that I knew that I wanted to feel, you know? So that's when I hired Vince, and I'm like, I was very open with him too. I'm like, hey man, like this is the spot that's hurting me. Right. And it's like, I won't say it online, but it's like, you know, it's like right here in this area, your chest basically. Right. It's like, okay, cool. Like, and you know, it's cool. I told him, we put together a plan.
Absolutely.
We put together a plan.
And it hurt.
Like,
the plan hurt.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah, like I got to get in there and I got to do some work. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, dope. You know, and it's like, then I was competing with the plan and I was like, my discipline's there. And am I in? So it's like, it's been a journey. For me though, it was like, I always just admired Bruce Lee growing up. So like the movie Dragon, his story, to me, it was just, I think I watched it a whole summer. I think I watched it every day for a whole summer because it was just so cool to me. So I always had those like remnants in my mind. And then I don't know. Then I was like, one day I was like, this all came up. I would just say that it went from being vanity to now being functionality.
I love that.
And now it's not so much about the vanity. It's more about, I think, what you're sharing, right? It's, but I'm grateful that it started off as vanity because it led me to more of the functionalness, right? How long are you going to keep saying you're not flexible for? Is that going to really pay off, as you mentioned, right, with your grandkids? You're just going to go in there and lift weights, but you're not going to have good endurance and good heart rate and good, you know, balance. You're not going to be, you're going to be able to move. What's okay, cool. So for me, it's like, I really do. I agree with your mindset. I really do agree with it. I think first though, it starts with you. I think it's that self-love first. And then when it's there, and that's kind of what I learned from the Powerful Man group was when I was talking to my wife, right? So here's the thing. You go into like, get coaching about how to be a better husband. What do you think they're going to talk about? Your mindset is, most guys, I think, well, here's what's wrong with her. You know what I'm saying? Here's what she does that pisses me off. What's interesting? Let's relook at this a little bit, right? What is it about that even why does it affect you? You know what I mean? It starts with you. Everything is right here with you. And then as a result, everybody that you come into communication with then begins to be able to feel, like you said, right? You saw transitions. I've seen transitions with you. It's like, but it had to start with you and it has to start with me.
Absolutely.
And but then what we could do is we could go out and we can inspire so many people too.
This episode is sponsored by Aloha Imports, the sprays that make your worst smelling secrets disappear. Listen, I love people, but I don't love their shoes or their oops, I ate a burrito bathroom breaks. And I really don't love pretending I don't smell it. That's why I keep Aloha Imports products in the house, in my car, honestly, probably in every bag I own. They've got Sweet Feet for foot funk, Shoe Fly for that one pesky fly, Smoke Off for smoke clouds that linger like your last situationship, and Crapper Zapper for the bathroom situation. You know the one. Aloha Imports doesn't cover it up with flowers and lies. They end it, silently, like a tropical ninja with a vendetta. So if you live with roommates, pets, or anyone who eats food and then, processes that food, you need this. Go to alohaimports.com, stock up, and enjoy living in a house that doesn't smell like a regret.
And the funny thing is, there's a story played out that men, because traditionally they provide financially, that
Right.
they're done. Like,
Yeah.
well, this is what I provide.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're the wife, you're the significant other, you take care of everything else. You take the kids to school, you go to all the stuff, because my job is done. I provide the finances and I put food on the table and that's it. And they check out.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think it's a very Western way of living. I think, and I'm learning more about this right now, but I just think that like naturally when you just look at overall the way that the world operates, you know what I mean? It's very much so from a perspective of like, it's very much consumerism driven. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that we can kind of get lost in that a little bit sometimes. And where you look at other cultures, it's not consumer driven, it's more family driven, and it's more lineage driven, and it's more driven in those regards, right? And so, yeah, when those things, like I always remember in the Powerful Man group, man, they shared this with us, and it was like, and again, I know it's like we're supposed to be about fatherhood, but it's kind of like
this is all
this is
interconnected.
what's helped me become a better
Absolutely.
father. So I'm, I remember this story they were sharing where it's like, guys like back in the day, back ancient times, the guys, the way that we communicated was like, it's very simple. We go out, we kill, and we bring it back. So that's what it was. So yeah, but also you protect, you provide, and you protect. It's the same thing, but you also got to protect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So therein lies the two versions of that. Well, one thing I learned that was like with my wife, and I'm not a saint. I don't do a great, I could totally get better at this. Okay. However, one thing that I will say that helps me out a lot is emptying the berries. And so the image, the illustration that they gave us was, okay, if the guys are going and doing that, then what are the ladies doing? Well, the ladies are going down to the river. They're walking, right? And they're talking to the other ladies, and they're going, "Hey, where are the where are the good berries? Don't go to those berries. Go to those berries. Why? Because those berries you can't get to this is the way women do things. Like, from what I'm understanding, I'm not trying to be like, right. But there's more communication. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot more communication that goes into like the daily life. Right. So it was crazy. It was like, so now like we make a joke about it at the house. Cause like, all right, I like share it with my family, but I'm like, we're emptying berries. You know what I mean? Cause I want to make sure, cause I don't, for me, I just like, give me a gym and a phone and just get out of my way, and a sauna. You know what I mean? Like I'll do, I'll however, I think it does go just deeper than the way of living of, I'm just going to provide.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into the energy in the home. And so now we work to, as we can, I want to work to, like, as I'm talking to my, hey, how was your day? Right? What were some of the interactions like that you had? did we plan this? Were you able to do this? Were you able to? Why all we're doing is we're just emptying the berries out. Because when you think of it, I always think of it like you're walking around with a bunch of berries because you picked up the berries, right? It was like, well, who's helping them empty it, right? So it's like, but all that, man, it just kind of, with becoming a father, man, it's like another great affirmation that I have that I was thinking about too is like, I shower my family with love, affection, and quality attention, and so every day one of my goals is I'm not the sometimes I'm not on, however. I want to spend some quality time with each member of my family every single day. So sometimes I'll go, like last night, people will watch me and they'll go like, you took your son to the YMCA? I'll be like, man, I literally, son, YMCA, we're playing basketball, or we're shooting hoops in front for 15, 20 minutes. I'm trying to teach him something. He's going to pick up something. He's going to learn something that I say that he's going to pick, right? Daughter, golf. Okay, boom, she's out playing on the golf course. I'm just, you know what? I got you. I'll be out there with you a little bit. Okay, daughter now, the other daughter, boom here, it's like wife, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just work to shower. At least I tell myself this. I shower my family with love, affection, quality attention.
Wow.
So I don't know if that helps anybody. However, I can tell you that I've been that mindset now for, I think Ty Leon Guerrero actually was the one that shared that affirmation, or it was a class that we had done. But I remember that affirmation, and I'll say that affirmation, like it's all what we're telling ourselves. I think that's what we got to understand, is that it's all what you're telling yourself about. Its perspective is everything.
How old are the kids?
13,
Trick question.
11, 11 and 5. Man, I'm so bad. I feel terrible about it. I'm like, because they're in that sweet spot where like my son is like, I feel like he's going to be 12. Like, I don't know, my daughter, I still feel like she's 12, like, she's like, I am a teenager, Dad. I'm like, you are.
So how do you balance being an entrepreneur? You started a company, you breathe, you live coaching and putting out these messages. But how does that show up in the home? And I'll give you an example. I was always into like motivational books and videos and so forth. So I inundated my kids with it. But in turn, what I did was I turned them off to it because I didn't have balance. So I pushed them so much because I was trying to raise strong. And so I have 3 daughters. I was trying to raise strong, independent girls, but I gave them PTSD. My daughters weren't allowed to cry. They weren't allowed to show weakness. They had to get straight A's. So in the process, I broke them because I forgot they were little girls, and I was trying to create little versions of me.
Yeah.
But even more important, I was trying to create strong, independent women to protect themselves from a man like me. So how do you find that balance? When do you turn it off of, I'm high energy, I'm a coach, I'm an entrepreneur. How do you find that balance? Because that's got to be tough, because you're trying to be authentic, you're trying to speak your truth, but at the same time, they're kids too.
Yeah, they're babies. Yeah. It's been a lot of growth. It's been a lot of healing for me, and like I said, it's that survivor mindset versus that, man, my daughter, I've said some stuff to her where I'm like, you should not have said that to a child, to a child. Like, you just like, it's a very competitive mindset, and or to my son, and so, look, I'm a human being, man. I make mistakes a lot, so I have to really, it's tough. I have to watch myself for sure. I would just say that for me, I'm working more to get out of that survivor mentality and just really like questioning myself all the time on like, why does that even matter? Like, cause I be getting mad at like dumb stuff, like stuff that don't make no sense, but well, at the same time, I grew up with a mom that was like OCD, worked 2 jobs, clean the house. Like, so now I'm like, clean, we got to clean, So it's funny. Just last night, I told my daughter, I'm like, hey, cause I felt like I was having a feeling she was on like a different social media or something with her friends, And I just walked up and I just went up to her and I was like, hey, Tay, what's up? She's like, hey. She's like, she's doing her homework. And I'm like, hey, by the way, like, I just wanted to tell you this, like, if there's, if there's a social media app or something like that that you want to jump on, like, and you want to ask me about it, or you don't have to keep anything from me. Like, you could just tell me and it's all good. And you can, I just, I'll be here to support you type of a thing. If you guys want to do something, you want to go hang out with your friends and you got a golf tournament, we could have a conversation about the balance of the two. The the survivor, or my kids say the short hair me, because when I had short hair, like now they're like, you're so much more relaxed. And so, I will say though that, like, yeah, man, that was I lived that, it's like, birthdays, and a lot of our coaches still kind of, they do respond that way. But I step in and I say, because I've had conversations with my wife about it too. My wife's the opposite when it comes to sports and things like that. It's not, oh, who cares, whatever. Like, they want to do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. It's all good. And so again, I think it's the shift of, well, the question was more around the balance of the entrepreneurialism. And, for me, man, I just try to keep working on myself.
I love how you answered it earlier when we were off camera and you said, hey,
Yeah.
if I know I've got to travel to another state, I make it a point to get on an early flight and I, do everything to make sure that you're home in time, because
there's the practical stuff, for sure. Like, there's always that, how I can, like the little one, that's probably one of the tougher things, right? She calls me if I'm traveling, or, if I'm in a different state, she'll call me and she'll go, Dad, when are you coming home? And oh my gosh, I miss you. She just cries really easy, and I'm like, oh, so I got to get her a bear or something, so I try to get her a bear from all the different states that we're in, or like new territories. I bring her a little bear. So,
that is so powerful, because I know when I used to travel, my kids always look forward to gifts.
Oh yeah.
When I came home.
Oh yeah.
Something simple from the airport.
Yeah.
But just, so that was kind of like the compensation. Like, Daddy's gone, but when Daddy comes home, we're going to get a surprise.
Yeah.
And it's the little things.
Oh, for sure.
It's the little things.
Yeah. So, and then also just not being like irresponsible with my time. Like, I think that.
Can you expand on that? Because that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's
like,
powerful.
I think that we can be a little bit irresponsible with our time sometimes. Like, I'm very, like, I would say that I have a pretty busy, like what someone would say, like a busier schedule, or like things to do. And I'm really grateful for technology that I'm able to do it in multiple places. However, like, one thing, that I learned is, like, you're either, the business is either working for you or you're working for the business, right? You can make as much money as you want, just don't work more than 20 hours a week doing it, So I think a lot of that in my mindset is more of like, that's why I tell people, like, I want to help you build a business of your dreams. So I don't want you, like, to be away from your family. That old mindset we used to have, man, it's like, you were like the best. You're like it's like, this is a golden child. It just works. Like, come on, man. It's like, dude, you want to go to Cabo? Like, do what Edward's doing, right? It's just not the game. It's not the game. It's just not the game, So it's like, now it's like, you start to work in that. So, but we're all going through our journeys, man, and we're all learning and developing and growing. So a lot of empathy. I think you got to have a lot of empathy too for yourself. And you got to have a lot of empathy, and just make sure that your heart is in the right place. God knows all, right? He knows where your heart is at. He knows everything. So it's like, well, in that case, we're just like, you know what? I would like to get a little bit better at this, You'd be surprised. How fast the door will open. It'll be quick. It may not be comfortable, but you'd be surprised.
And you talk about your faith, and you have very strong faith. So tell me, how has that played into your life, for your family, for your kids, for your wife?
Yeah, so number one, like, I grew up going to church with my mom, my brother, my brothers, going to Water of Life Community Church. And I just always, one thing I've learned is just, like, to be of service, like, good, go and bless people, community. So faith has been really big. I will say that, like, right now, my journey is not to learn more religion. my journey is to connect more with God.
Okay.
That's where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a it's a good it's a great place to be. You know what I mean? Because I want to take ownership of it, if that makes sense. And it's one thing to grow up in church and like I've done, and do the junior high ministries and the high school ministries. And, then again, I did go to Vegas and like, it was not, not, yeah, you move, just it is what it is. Like you move away from the word, right? And then you come back. I think Eli, we were having this conversation the other day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's interesting we're talking about it now, and you just learn from all of it. You really just learn from all of it because it's like what my pastor says, right? It's like you throw a rock in the water, you think it's only going to be that first, like it's just the impact of the water, but no, it is
Ripple.
It's affecting, So it's like. For me, that journey is like, and again, I think it more so starts with me. I don't put like, I think that's the big thing, man, is like, I don't put things on my family. I don't put things on, like, I need to be focused on how I'm showing up, and I need to be super focused on how I am showing up, because I think if I am super focused on how I'm showing up, then it will work. The world is just in perfect order.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And as we start to wind down, I want to ask you two final questions. How is fatherhood like business? What are things that you can take from business systems to start to metamorphose into how you show up as a father? Because I've started to make the connection, and I had this aha moment. And for me, it was time, but I don't want to take away from how do you intertwine the two?
Well, I think one of the things that I hold on to as from a fatherhood, another value or a foundational point is presence. So presence is like when you think about kids, a lot of times they just want presence. They just want to know that that's something that, for me, like I had a lot of presence, like not presence, presence. Like, yes. I'm here. You could be on the phone. You could be doing whatever, handling business, doing your thing, but your presence is there. You are there. So that's one thing a lot for myself that I think as well in business is you got to be present.
It's funny you say that because we laugh about this now, but there's still a lot of hurt with my kids is I would show up to things, but I wasn't present. My presence wasn't there because I was on the phone or I was reading magazines. So, and I remember having a conversation with one of my daughters, and she says, I'm so angry with you that you came to my choir that I performed, and you pretty much ignored the whole thing. You were reading and working on paperwork, but then when it was time for me to sing, then you were present, but at the other time, but I worked hard. And you couldn't show up for me. So even though I was physically there, I wasn't present. And I didn't come to a realization later on when I realized what an impact, because in my mind, it's like, I just moved appointments. I got here, I drove, and I'm here. So what are you complaining about? And I was very mean about it. But so when you say presence, that's powerful because there's a lot of fathers that show up and they're there physically, but they're not present. And our kids are watching. And they're taking it all in. And it's actually doing a bigger disservice to be there physically and not be present than to just not show up.
I agree. It's just like business. A lot of times you show up, but you ain't doing anything. It's like, again, it goes back to that time perspective of like, are we just wasting time? I think consistency is big too. I think you got to stay consistent. You know what I mean? And you got to try. I think you got to be consistent. You got to try, because ultimately we're all just doing the best we can with what we know. So we want to work to try. And that's something that I'm very open with my kids. Like I tell them, like, I'm just doing the best I can with what I know. So I know I'm going to mess something up. I get it. I know I already have messed things up, and I get it. I'm just doing the best I can with what I know.
No, I love that.
You know, it's like
I love that.
other things that translate to business. I think those are, I mean, yeah, I would say, man, I think those are two really big ones is present and being consistent. You know what I mean? And, you know, there's another great one that I learned from Alex Lair, which is like, there's rubber balls and then there's crystal balls, you know, and yeah, you know, that's one thing. The crystal balls are the ones that you drop them and it shatters the heart. You know, the rubber balls are the ones that, okay. So one thing Alex always shares with me is it a rubber ball or is it a crystal ball? If it's a crystal ball, dude, money can wait.
Wow.
You know, money can wait. It's like, it's a crystal ball. You know what I mean? You only get a few, yeah, you only gonna get certain ones of those in life. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
you go all in, you know? Yeah. And that's just, but I think that's all of it though, right? I think that's like, I also say I'm a great friend. That's one of my affirmations. I'm a great friend, you know? I'm a great friend. I'm a great brother. I'm a great uncle. I'm a great, you know, colleague. I'm a great, like you see, you tell yourself these things and then guess what? You start to, okay, these are some of the little things that like, I want to take pride in. And it's all just, what are you taking pride in? And is it worthwhile? You know, a lot of times we take pride in things that just are not worthwhile. And I see it so much. And I'm like, what is that? Yeah, okay, I get it. Like you like sports, but it's like, fuck care. Like, what? You got 3 little babies there that are going, you know, they just look at you. And you're just like, every time you leave, you're like, oh my gosh. You know, it's like, it's the most miraculous thing ever. You know, it's like, I just, all the love. Like we were watching the video. It's like, God, he's like, not even your, that's the thing. That's the other thing. It's not even, a lot of times, like, it's not even our own kids. And I just have a big heart for kids. I don't know. I have a big heart for kids. It's just, you know, I believe in kids. I think that kids, you know, I know little things. I remember my tia taking me to Disneyland. I was just talking about that the other day. That just made the biggest impact in the world to me. Because Disneyland was like, I just remember everybody around me saying, it's expensive, it's expensive, it's expensive. She was like, I'm taking you guys. And I was just like,
Wow.
you know, yeah, we split the churros and, you know, all those stories. I don't give a damn. I was like, I'm at Disneyland. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is gold. You know, I was saying the other day, it's like Tim Herr Tim Herr. I was talking to Rick out in Vegas and he reminded me of Tim Herr, who I remember NTC, I think the name of the company was, down in Irvine, California. My 2 brothers, myself, I was younger. We drove a Jeep down there. My brother's Jeep, back, no top. I remember we get down there. Tim Herr had just won the S500 Mercedes Benz. I remember he won the car, and guess what? My 2 brothers, and guess who else got to go in the car?
You did.
I got to go in the car, and because I got to go in the car, because I would always dress, you know, so it got to, man, I remember feeling an S550 Mercedes, and I was like, this is the business right here. I could do this, you know. I remember Tyler Young Guerrero pulling up in a Rolls Royce, you know, and the mink on my toes. And I'm like, you know, I remember all this stuff. It's a big impact on, we make a bigger impact on people than we really think that we do, you know? So that's why, you know, he's got a lot of love for kids and just a lot of love for people, man. It's like, you know, so I'm just constantly working to challenge myself. And like I said, I think it starts with us. Like, yeah, I'm a father. Yes, absolutely. But I'm also, you know, above all, like I'm a person, you know, so I want to be a good person. I want to be a good husband, you know, then be a good person. You know, I want to be a good husband. I want to take care of my family. And yeah, I want to do the best I want to do the best job I can do. And I think that also translates to business too. Are you doing the best job that you can do? That's something that, you know, only you can answer that. I don't know, you know, so that's where a lot of the stuff comes in of the, we're flying out, we're flying in. The other day we were driving out, we're driving right back. And people are like, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? And I'm like, because I want to take my kids to school in the morning. I love that drive. You know, like we play music. The little one does her thing. You know, my daughter's like, you know, she's doing her thing at 13. You know, it's
those moments, you guys will talk about them 20 years from now.
Oh.
Those are the times.
I embarrassed because I'll blast music, you know, and they're just like, Dad, we're coming up to the school, stop, you know, and I'm like, I don't give a damn, you know, and then it's like, then we get to school, you know, it's like, it's just all fun stuff, you know, it's all good, man, and, you know, it's just slowing it down a little bit, you know, slowing it down a little bit, yeah, everybody's doing the best they can with what they know, a lot of empathy, I think it starts there, and also, you know, protecting and you know, standing up for what's yours and understanding that, you know, it's one thing I will share is I'm very concerned with the quality of life that my family lives. That's a like, it's a myself thing, just like I'm very concerned with my ability to protect my family. So for that, I think that that's worthwhile in my mind.
Yeah.
Somebody else can think a sporting event, and I like going to sporting events, by the way. I go to sporting events. They could think it's the end all say all. Cool. For me, it's it's just the way that I was raised. That's just the way that I was brought up by my brothers and my mom. I will say my mom is my angel. She's my everything, you know, like literally, like she just, all the motherly nature, you know. So it's like, yeah, I grew up without a dad, but you know, if I wanted some shoes, guess what? My mom, you know, I got you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all the little stuff, right? Oh my gosh, I want to go watch this movie. No car. We're walking to the theaters.
Wow.
Skipping in the rain. So it's just,
You know, I love that because right before you got here, I just happened to say, oh, the Dodgers are in town.
Yeah.
And I just sent, you know, we have a family text, and I sent it to everybody in the family.
Yeah.
I said, hey, you guys want to go Dodger game today?
Yeah.
Like, you know, why not? Oh,
Great.
why not?
You gonna go?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for the response.
He's going. You guys should totally go.
I'm like, why not?
You know, it's great. Why not? It's quality. It's worthwhile. Is it worthwhile?
I'm not going to enjoy the game, but it's just experience grabbing some food and laughing and just.
It's worthwhile.
Yeah, you know,
it is so worthwhile. It doesn't, like, it's just, is it worthwhile or is it not? It's like, that's Earl Nightingale, by the way. It's not, I'm not preaching anything new here. It's like all the wisdom it's all out there. It's just, you know, we just got to go get it.
What does Anthony do to tap into his inner child? Like, what do you do to?
Oh, I'm the chief fun officer.
Oh,
I'm the chief fun officer.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm the CFO of my life. So this is another thing I learned from the Powerful Man group. We live in shadow or we live in I am. When we're living in shadow, we're living in fear, anxiety, you know, all the stuff, right? We're living in all the craziness, right? We're living in the shadow. We're just hiding, you know, gripping things too tight. We're having heart palpitations about, you know, we're heady. When we're living in I am, we're living in our courage. We're living in flow. We're living in gratitude. We're living in empathy. We're living in I am. And so so one of the things I do is I remind myself, I am the CFO of like the family. And my kids know I'm Disney dad. Like, when we're, you know, they know it. Like when so that's that, you know, in my mindset, I want to create the highest quality of experience that I can create in my mindset, or that's just the way that I do it. Right. So if we're going to go to the Dodger game tonight, why does Dad want us to go to the Dodger game? Because I am the CFO of this life. I am the chief fun officer of life. That's why I want to go to the Dodger game. You know what I mean? And I want to do it with the people that I want to have fun with. So I'm the chief fun officer. So that's why I don't know if you've heard us in the meetings. Like, we have a lot of chief fun officers now with Pat, because they're all, you know, anybody could be the chief fun officer, by the way. It doesn't just have to be Dad. It could be Mom. It could be, you know, daughter. It could be whoever, right? It's like, but when you start to live that way, like all of a sudden now you're showing up to the family gathering a lot different. You know what I'm saying? So that is a mindset for me to work the inner child. Splashy puddles. You know, you want to jump in the puddle? Jump in the puddle. Adults don't jump in the puddle, but when you're a kid will jump in the puddle all day long. You know what I mean? You want to go play a game? Well, an adult, I don't do that. You know, a kid, let's go. Go ride the roller coaster, CFO. I'm going to ride the roller coaster, right? So just work to have fun. Like that's what I try to do. So like every experience, I'm like, okay, we're gonna take a long drive. I'm like, okay, what would make the drive fun? Like, I'm just like, I want to make it chief fun officer. You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever it is. My wife will make little things, and like she helps out a lot, but I'm like, what can we do to make this like, wow, and then they just like, oh my gosh, it's like, and they don't need much either, right? People just, it's the littlest gesture that just goes the longest way. It's the thank you note that we've lost sight of. You know what I'm saying? It's like we were looking at that. What do we see? What makes you the most emotional? Yes, it's the recordings. Yes, it's all that. The words, right? The little, like, it's just the cool stuff, man.
Wow, I love that. I'm gonna actually borrow that, the chief fun officer,
Take it.
because
Well, I took it from the
yeah.
powerful man. So that's the whole thing I'm trying to figure out is like who is who. I'm just like, that's why I'm like, everybody has taught me so much that I can't like, I know it's really helped shape my mindset. So it's just a lot of cool stuff out there when you think like the perspective, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's cool, man.
As we wind down on this, what's been a powerful episode, I want to ask you a final question. And that's going to be, what do you want your legacy to be with your kids? When they look back, when you're no longer here, how do you want them to remember Dad?
Man, that's a great question. I will just say, I don't know the answer to that question, by the way. I don't. I'm going to do the best I can. I will say that when my mom passed away, there was two things that changed my world forever. Number one was that she had like in her bank account, she only had like, it was less than $100 in her bank account, right? Happiest person with cancer you would ever be. Just, it's all good. Just her and God, cool. And she was still giving to the church. Yeah, she was still in contribution. So she would go to the food warehouse at night and she would help people and she would give them food and all that stuff. And that left a huge impact on me. And I do my absolute best to get down to our city link. We're actually going to be doing thanks to Marcella and Justin Tristal and Martin, Jeremiah over with the Prosperity Homes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to be doing a pack build. So I would say more than anything, I would want them to have a heart of contribution because I would want them to know that like that for me was such a big thing, is just helping people that are, if God blesses us, then we're going to work to bless other people. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I would hope that they would know, and that would be in their heart for sure, is to have that. I grew up going to mission trips and doing those things. So like, I'm taking them this time around. So that's like a really powerful, so that's one thing. The other thing I say, number two would be, there was a note, there was the money, the finance, and then there was, what was the other one? Oh, that was it. And this is for everybody. It's interesting because with my mom, I thought, well, yeah, she's got a sister. She's got 2 kids. She has her, people from her church, her Spanish group, right? Like a church, like, yeah, she has some friends from the office, right? All right. So trip out on this. And like, this is where it really hit me. I was like, oh, wow, bro, for her funeral, I was like, we were supposed to have it in this little place because we're like, I don't know, maybe 20 people, right? And I think our families come in, so 40, like that's what we're thinking. The amount of people that she just impacted in her life that showed up at her funeral, oh my gosh, I will never forget that. That like the whole thing was like, you had so much faith in God that you were giving even when you didn't have, like who does that? You know what I mean? Like, wow. And then the flip side of that was really how impactful she was in her life, that you only have that many people show up to your funeral if you're really making an impact on people. Like you're really loving on people, you're really caring on people. And the amount of messages of people, even to this day, that reach out to me and they say like, it was your mom did this to me, like I remember there's Christian Munive at the Red Hill. We were playing golf, big, like, real estate broker, like, big time, freaking sells a bunch of houses, right? Like, owns a mortgage company, the whole thing. He's like, hey, bro, I want to tell you something. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, I used to work with your mom and your brother back in the day. And I was like, what? Because my mom was a TC. She was a transaction coordinator. I was like, you did, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I just want to let you know, like, dude, your mom was dope. She really helped me, like, when she was first getting her career started. I just, and now he's, he's created success and all that good stuff. And, like, man, just the how deep it could go with how you show up and how you treat people. Those are the things for me that are just like, man, I would love for, if my kids knew that, or they had that part, like, I would just think that everything else, like, whatever, sell real estate, or I don't really care, but, like, some of those things, like, that's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing and being
Yeah,
vulnerable.
yeah.
And this was a powerful episode. And thank you for joining us for episode 61 of Fatherhood Voices.